All right, guys, we are here today with Brady McKinlay. Brady, thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I can't imagine there's too many golfers in Alberta that don't know your name, but for those who maybe don't pay attention to any tournaments out there, if they're just kind of weekend warriors doing their own thing, can you give us a real quick introduction to who Brady is and where he comes from?
Yeah, Brady McKinlay. I'm 23 now from Lacombe, Alberta, Central Alberta. Lived there my whole life and then ended up in Utah for probably the last, it's got to be 5 years now. I went to university down here and now I'm living in St. George. So hoping to spend most of my time here and pop back to Alberta for the summers and play a few tournaments. But yeah, that's me.
All right. So growing up in Lacombe, how old were you when you started playing golf?
I mean, like everybody, I feel like not everybody in Alberta, but a lot of people, it was hockey and golf. So I was playing hockey and golf when I was say 5, and that was my summer and winters. So I've always played golf, but it was a kind of a family fun activity, and I would say it was more of a I was more of a hockey player, and my family was kind of more hockey leaning all the way up until probably my teens, and then I kind of started realizing that maybe we were a golf family, and I don't know if that was the case all the time or if it was just because me and some of my cousins and my brother started playing more. So um so I probably started playing. I think I played my first tournament when I was probably 12 or 13, just at Lacombe and the men's open, or sorry, the junior open, the old McLennan Ross stuff. So that's I guess when the tournament golf started, but I never really started playing tournaments, kind of a full schedule until I was probably 15 or 16. So
When you say full schedule, what were you playing?
yeah, like I said, like it was a lot of McLennan Ross and maybe I didn't know much about the junior circuit, I guess you call it, or junior tours then. So it was a lot of, testing in a CJGA or an MJT. And at 15 was when I first I think it was the first time I got the membership for CJGA events. Played MJTs through the full summer. And then once you play enough events, it gives you opportunities to get, say, invited to other stuff. And I think it was that year that I got invited to the MJT kind of national championship thing that they would hold in Arizona or Florida. So I think that was the first year I ever got invited to that over that winter. And like honestly, even just that feeling of getting invited to a tournament, I was like hooked. And that's kind of when it took off. And that's when I knew I wanted to keep playing. So
Yeah, I love that. Now, I've met one of your uncles. He was playing in the men's am with one of Tyler's buddies there, and he told me that it's not just him that's trying to kick your ass at when you do make it back to Lacombe. So you said that you're mostly a hockey family, but from what I heard, it's kind of your dad's like the hockey guy, but the rest of the uncles are kind of the golf ones that really try to beat you on the golf course.
yeah, like I think my dad played good hockey, played junior hockey. Like he was a good player and he plays golf as well. And they all played hockey, but definitely now I think hockey may have taken a physical toll on my dad and all the uncles, and golf's maybe a little bit easier on the body now. So but they're all really good golfers. I mean, my dad's a single digit every year, maybe a six. And then yeah, basically all my other uncles are scratches or maybe a one or two. So regardless of who I'm playing with, there's always a good match to be had. I've got to give him a couple of strokes now, but it used to be the other way around. So yeah, it's always good competition.
Yeah, I guess whatever's fair, right? And then I think I saw on Lacomb's social media that your mom got a hole in one this year. How many do you have?
I mean, she's got two now, and I say I have two or four. Two of them are par three course hole in ones. So not that I don't count them, but uh, there is an asterisk beside them. They were still, I think, 120 yards ish each. So I do count it, but two of them are on real full golf courses. So we'll say we're tied right now, and I gotta get another one because that that's one I want to hold. I don't think I want my mom holding the hole in one record over me. So
For sure, she's on your heels now.
yeah.
So you and I'm actually going to drop this interview into the edit here, but you and I talked back in 2018. Tyler was at Dynamic Motion to have a lesson with Wes Heffernan, and you happened to be there having a lesson with Scott Stiles at the time.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, I know that guy. Like, I know that name.
Mhm.
And we'll just drop the interview here.
So we just kind of quickly crossed paths here. We're at Dynamic Motion Golf Performance, and you're here for a lesson with Scott Stiles. I mean, I guess being one of the top juniors in the province, you need to keep your game sharp over the off season. So what do you typically do during the winters in Alberta to keep your game sharp?
I think the biggest thing for me is just keep the body moving. I like to play hockey, and then golf-wise, just try to swing the club as much as you can, because there's not much you can do other than maybe go down to the States once or twice, get a few rounds in. But as long as you're swinging the club, you kind of stay in the swing of things. But other than that, kind of just stay active.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you are 18 and kind of reaching your last year of eligibility as a junior, and that means too that you're about to graduate from high school and you're going to go to college. Have you committed anywhere quite yet? Anywhere that you're looking at that you can let us know about?
I haven't committed yet, but I guess the big thing kind of with the snowy winters here is finding somewhere I can play all year round and somewhere warm. So hopefully go down south and, somewhere I can play all year round and, be successful, but nowhere I've committed yet.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing what happens with you, and congratulations on all your successes so far, and I'm sure all your successes to come. Thanks, Brady.
Thank you.
Kind of walk us through everything that has happened since, because you've got some crazy stories here.
Yeah, so that was a weird time because I think that would have been just when I started working with Scott. I think I've been with Scott for probably 5 years now, maybe just a bit more. And yeah, like I said, like it was a weird time because I wasn't necessarily playing golf. It was obviously the winter time, but I wasn't in a spot where I knew where I was going or knew when my next tournament was even. It was just, I obviously wanted to be committed somewhere or be going somewhere. So I was in there just practicing, and the hope then was to be finding somewhere to go. And I'm not sure if that was before I went to my first school, which was in Nebraska, or when I went to Utah, but either way, like it was a time where everything was so unknown, which in that probably 2 year stretch was really tough. I mean, I spent more time probably working, weird jobs than I did golfing for a good stretch, but at the same time, there's no better motivation to kind of pull up my socks and play some good golf. So yeah, when I think back to that, it's super strange because of how unknown, like I said, it was really difficult. But I really don't think that I would have maybe got to the school I went to or had the success without it. So you can say everything happens for a reason. If it does or it doesn't, it worked out in the end, and I'm able to say I'm a pro golfer now. So
Yeah.
it's a weird progression, but if you told me then that I'd be sitting here now, like kind of gearing up to have another season playing golf, then I would have been really happy. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something a lot of players and parents at that age, that 16, 17, 18, even 19, if they're in their first year of college, can relate to. I know I, as a parent of someone of that age, can relate to that unknown. And I'm sure he can relate to it as well. So at what point, because I think when we talked, it was, January-ish of your grade 12 year. At what point did you end up committing to Nebraska?
So Nebraska, I went to school there. It would have been the fall of 2018, and I only went there for
Okay.
one semester. So
Okay.
if we had talked in January, I would have been 17 still because I graduated when I was 17, and
Okay.
then went to school for that fall. And like I said, like I wanted to go play collegiate golf, and uh, as somebody from Canada, I really didn't know what the landscape of college golf was. I didn't know. I knew that there were different divisions, NCAA, NAIA, but I really didn't know what the difference was. So I committed to a school that was going to give me a chance. And to be honest, like a lot of the things that were promised didn't really happen, which was unfortunate. But I didn't know that that was kind of how things worked or could work. So, on my part, that's just not knowing. yeah, I played there for that one semester, and I remember like going in to see my coach probably in maybe November, early November, October, and I was like, I can't be here anymore. Like, I don't want to come to you and say that I'm quitting, but I have to leave because there's no way I'm gonna get to the point I want to here, and that's just how it was. And I hated it because I really enjoyed my coach as a person there, but they just didn't have the tournaments or the competition or the facilities to like actually grow as a golfer. So uh as tough as that was, it was necessary, and it was tough because eligibility wise, like you lose that full year. So instead of playing golf for another semester, I was at home working, played through that whole summer, and then was able to get the opportunity with Utah Valley. So yeah, that was again very unknown, very weird time, but as low as it was at that point, it was kind of a great way to just rebound. It's like this is probably as bad as it's gonna get. I get to another school, and as long as I get the opportunity, it's gonna be good. So yeah, very very
Totally.
weird, but yeah, it was good in the end.
So how did you end up with that opportunity with Utah Valley?
To be honest, I don't really know because there was kind of like maybe two or three different like routes that were happening at the same time. Because Scott obviously has a ton of connections with whether it's people in Canada or some coaches down south. So he was, reaching out or helping kind of get me just in touch with certain coaches. And then he got me in touch with I think he's just teaching out I think he's in Vancouver, but he's Johnny Motomochi. He was a coach and somebody that would help recruit uh, players to coaches that he knew in the States because he had a lot of connections. So that was a connection. And then a player from Alberta, Kai Gucci from Banff, he had just gone the prior fall. And I think kind of once my name had maybe been mentioned to the coach and I had emailed the coach, which I didn't know was a thing, but a lot of times the coaches will ask the players if there's a connection and if they know the guy, maybe try to get a feel for him. And I think that was a big part of it too, because I think Kai had known me. We'd played a decent amount of junior golf rounds together, so we had known each other. And uh, in the end, I think it was kind of a combination of the three. But uh, yeah, just once I was able to reach out and kind of gain a relationship with Coach Curran, it was pretty obvious that I would go there because he's just an instant connection to him and the school. So yeah, again, a weird situation because I don't really know which was the first to make contact, but either way, ended up committing there.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Um, a question that just came up in my head as you were talking there. Do you think that if you could do it over again, would you take a gap year over going to Nebraska, or do you think that you needed to experience that kind of low point to get to where you are today? Like you said, it was kind of like a rebounding point.
Yeah, that's perfect question because with all I know now, I do think I would have taken a gap year because I actually have a younger cousin, Easton, who's I believe he's 17, turning 18, and he's trying to do the same thing. And he's kind of like me. He's a late bloomer. Like if he ends up, getting to the spot where he can play golf to play Division 1 or Division 2 or whatever it is, like it's going to be a little bit later than everybody else. And my advice to him was to take the gap year because the only thing I wish I had more at this school was more time, and that's it. Because I played 5 semesters, so like 2.5 years, where especially through this time through COVID, like I had teammates and other guys that were playing 5 or 6 years. So kind of you stretch that into pro golf, and like the more time you can have in college to develop, like yes, if you're at the top of college golf and you can go play pro, you go do it. But it's not usually what happens unless, other than 2 or 3 guys in each year, maybe. So the more time you have in college to grow and like just build your game, like is better. So in one sense, I don't think I would be here without that kind of stretch in York, in Nebraska. But but at the same time, I think it'd be really difficult for me to say that I needed to go back, knowing what I know now.
Right.
I,
And you
I
kind of
think it
feel
would-
like you wasted a year of your
yeah, exactly. It
eligibility
just
on
felt
it.
like there's a lot of time lost where the difficulties I went through then definitely were kind of a wake up call in a way, and like I said, like a rebound. But at the same time, I think if I had that time out of school, that was given to give me an opportunity, and I just get more competition in the long run. I think that would be the biggest thing. So I made the short time I had at school. I think I made made use of it well, but at the same time, maybe if I didn't break out and maybe my next year would have been that kind of time, and I did never got there. I don't think I'm playing golf right now. So I think the more time you give yourself to like actually kind of break out and learn your game and learn the competition in college, that's the better. So really tough decisions because you never know what's going to happen. But that's my advice or what I would do now. So
Yeah, for sure. And then, so talk about kind of playing through that COVID area, because I know that you, or I think I heard from Scott anyway, that you had this, you were applying for this one extra year of eligibility, kind of hoping to get it. And I don't think you ended up getting approved for it. Tell us a little about like what it was like playing those tournaments through that COVID time and what happened, I guess, with that eligibility year.
yeah, so like I said, like in Nebraska, I played in the fall of 2018, which is great. It was only a couple tournaments, which was supposed to be more, but I played, got just a bit like a taste of college golf, even though it wasn't at the highest competitive level. But left, so I lost that spring, so I lost a semester there. And then when I got to school in Utah, it was the fall of 2020, so nobody was playing then. And then we started playing in the spring. So that's kind of where I lost all that time and then played that spring and then the next 2 years. So once I had kind of gotten to, I guess it would have been the end of that second full year at UVU, I knew that I had really only played, I guess, 3 years of college golf, if you call it that. And I felt like I would have been warranted another year um, for eligibility, especially because I missed a full semester due to COVID and transferring, during the COVID spring area maybe would have been difficult. Whatever it was, like just seeing the the guys that are playing other sports or golf getting 5, 6, 7, 8 years to play was strange and kind of what I wanted. I wanted that extra time. Regardless, I was able to graduate and kind of have another year just to do school. But yeah, that was a weird time just because I spent the whole summer waiting. I had submitted everything and the compliance people at UVU were amazing. And we put together what I thought was a good kind of package to say like, hey, this is why I think I should be able to play longer. And it got denied, and that's what it is. It's kind of like everything. If that's how it was meant to be, then that's it. And regardless, I'm here now playing golf. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very weird just because I had that whole summer playing tournaments where I was, in a really good spot because I had played great golf and kind of got myself into really good events, but I was also, I kind of knew that once that last amateur tournament I had played, I didn't know if I'd be going right to school and playing college tournaments or if I'd be, coming down here just to be in class. So
Right.
yeah, little strange, but again, it worked out. Wish I could have played another year, but
Totally. Well, let's talk about that, what ended up being your last year, because we were sort of chatting back and forth about interviewing, but I have a thing that I swear I have a sports jinx and I refused to plan an interview with you when you were in the middle of your winning streak. So,
I appreciate that.
so you had, was it 4 or 5 in a row?
It was four tournaments in a row. Yeah.
Okay. Talk a little bit about what that stretch of golf was like and how that felt, because holy cow, that's, I mean, I feel like, and no offense to that, like kind of Kent State is the program that has like Canadian golf has kind of put on the
Definitely.
map, and I feel like you kind of did that for Utah Valley when you went on this big winning streak.
Yeah. it was the easiest golf's ever felt, and golf is never easy. So I'll leave it at that as far as what it felt like, because there's no way to really put it into words. But it kind of did. It definitely went back to the Alberta Am in the summer. Uh, I had obviously had success in junior golf, had won junior tournaments late in my kind of junior career, I guess, and that was great. But I never, once I got into just strictly amateur golf, it was not that I hadn't had success. It's just winning is so different. Second places are something, but one shot off of a win is it's crazy how different the feeling and the confidence is. So
Yeah.
being able to win the Am and kind of just have more confidence in what I was doing, I guess. I think that was a big part. Because yeah, like I said, like the boost you get from knowing that what you're doing is correct is something you can't really fake. And so once I got into that fall semester, I just felt great about my game. I felt great with what I was doing. Everything was kind of in line. And I think it was the first event we played was Air Force's event, and kind of played bad, honestly. Like I just struggled. It's a weird kind of quirky course and didn't have my best game. And that was that. And then Fort Collins was our first or the first of the wins, our second event of the fall. And I think I was 4 or 5 over through 9 holes of our 36 hole round. And I I was basically, when you're at that point in a round, you're obviously struggling, but you don't really know how you're going to finish, because your goal necessarily isn't winning at that point. At that point, you're trying to just say, get it back to even. And that was my goal. I said that by the end of this first day, I wanted to be back to even. And then I ended up getting it back to even. I think I eagled my last hole of the first round to get back to even. So I was like, okay, well, I did it in 1 round. Perfect. Now I can build. And then I played a really good second round. And then the final round, it's like college golf. We have 36 hole, we have the 18 hole second day. It's a shotgun, and you don't really know where things stand. So I was playing a really good round of golf. I think I was like 3 under through say 12. And then I think I made birdie on 14, eagle on 15 or something. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like I could see myself, having a really, really good finish now that I've put up a good round. And I kind of say that in college golf, like winning scores are like say 10 to 14 under almost any week. So that's where I thought it was going to be. And I finished up, I think I had like a 25-foot putt on the 18th hole up the hill. My coach was with me and he hadn't said anything. So I hit my putt. It goes like a foot short. And I'm like, shoot, I hope I didn't need that if I was close to winning. Because I really didn't think I was close at all. And I go over to him and I said that. I said, I hope that didn't mean anything, because it was like a foot short right in the jaws. And I remember it so vividly. He looked at me and he said, it didn't. So I'm like, all right, I can accept that. I played as good a golf as I could for the last, say, 36 holes, and it wasn't it. And then the guy puts the pin in and he like shakes my hand. He says, I think he said, you're 2 ahead of anybody on the course and 4 ahead of anybody that's finished. So I was like, I looked at him like he was crazy. And it was like the most surreal feeling, because like, obviously I had won the Am in the summer, but winning a Division I college event after what I just said, like I never knew if I'd played D1, and getting even 2 UVU was huge. It was a crazy feeling. And then once again, the confidence just rolled. We got into Colorado, I think it was like next week, and won there. Same thing, like something where I kind of had struggles early in the tournament and then just turned it on and played solid golf 1 by 1. And then I think the next one was Wichita State, and that one I went in. I was like, I'm winning. There was no question in my mind. I've never kind of had a feeling like that before, where I was playing the practice round, walking the golf course, like when I put the flag on an 18, I'm gonna win, and that's how it was. I think I won by 7 that week and just played solid golf, and yeah, that 3 tournament stretch was just the biggest, I guess, building I've had of tournament rounds, as far as starting slow and just being able to like stick with it, and kind of just, I don't know, the plan that I had built, or the golf I was playing was good enough. And as long as I had stayed patient, like I was gonna end up near the top and was able to win those 3. So yeah, again, like thinking back to it, it's so fun just because of how enjoyable those tournaments were, and yeah, I'll always remember each of those very fondly. So
Yeah, that was a really awesome stretch. So going back to winning the men's am kind of before all of that happened. That year, I remember it was at the ranch. I just actually pulled up the leaderboard and you kind of ran away there too. 66, 66, 70 for 11 under over the 3 days for a 5-shot win. And you had your, I think she was just your girlfriend at the time, but now fiance on the bag there. Like, kind of talk about what that situation was like, because not especially in junior golf, you don't get caddies ever. So kind of coming in and getting that first win off your back with her on the bag. Talk a little bit about what that was like.
yeah, I'm trying to think if that was the first time she'd ever caddied for me. I do think it was. Because we had a stretch there where I think she caddied for me for like 3 different tournaments, and we finished like we won 2 of them and finished second in the other or something. I'm not sure what tournaments they were, but it was a really good run. But that one was funny because it was just through the summer. She came up, and it happened to be the time that she got off. Uh, she was able to come right during the am, and I was like, perfect. I got a caddy. You can push the cart, and we can hang out, and it'll be perfect. And another week where I think things just went right. And I think obviously the confidence was there, but also just being able to just kind of walk around and, have her by my side. And we're probably most of the time not talking about golf, just talking about other stuff. And I think that's a big part. Like it was simple. It was a very simple week, and a golf course that I had talked about with Scott beforehand, because I think there's a few holes out there that maybe catch people off guard. And we talked about it very, very I guess attentively, that if you're able to go and enjoy this golf course and not think about maybe some of the weirder holes are out there, like you have a foot up, or at least a step up on everybody in the field. So that was something I definitely thought of as well, and then it made it that much easier being able to just have my girlfriend caddying, and like I said, just kind of hanging out. There's nothing pressure filled, and I know I made a boatload of putts that week, which also helped, but a lot of it was just being comfortable and uh building confidence through the week with my game. And I know at the end of the tournament, I think I had a very good lead and kind of fumbled it a bit, but like I said, that was the first time I I guess had a lead or was in place to win an amateur event, and at that time a very big amateur event for me. So
Yeah.
I remember, I think I hit it in the trees maybe on 16, and then on 17 I was just getting really quick with my iron swings, and she looks at me, she's like, you realize how fast you're swinging? Like, let's like calm it down, just like swing normal, like swing like a human. And then I made 2 really good swings on that weird 18th hole, kind of with the water, and finished it there. But yeah, it was just, again, it was comfortable. There was nothing about it that was overdone or anything. It was just very comfortable and very, very, very enjoyable, very fun, lots of good memories from that week. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's touch on that a little bit. There are definitely some quirky holes there. 5, like with that big dip, and 9, and like you said, 18 with the double fairway with the water in the middle. So, often if we're talking about maybe advice that you can give some of the juniors out there, they're playing golf courses that are going to have quirky holes, that are going to be 90-degree dog legs on par 5s that you can't go forward into because of the bend of the hole, or some of this other weird quirky stuff. So rather than getting pissy about how weird some of the holes are, you went in there kind of opposite, just accepting them for what they are and feeling good about them. I guess, how did you, mindset wise, overall, obviously you accepted that you were going to just enjoy the golf course. And I guess specifically on those quirky holes, how did you end up playing them, and were you able to maintain that accepting mindset on the ones that were kind of weird?
Yeah, I think, well, first off, it was Scott. Like Scott mentioned to me, I think he had played a PGA event there, or maybe they'd played on the Canadian tour there, and he said like that's how it is, and that's how it's been. It's not going to change. Like that's how the golf course is. That's how you're going to play it. It's the same for everybody. And it was like we kind of have a conversation like if you're able to and not necessarily enjoy, but try to enjoy those holes and like just think of them in a positive light, and really all you're doing is hitting golf shots. There's nothing about those holes that should change how you're swinging or the shots you're hitting. Like it's put the golf ball in the fairway, or do whatever you need to get in the hole, and that it's golf. Like it doesn't really realistically matter what the hole does. So we had kind of said like if we're able to go just play those holes well, and not let them get inside your head, like you've already beat half the field. And I think that's a big thing. Like it's a complete advantage when you're able to kind of remove like a big portion of your competition because you know that you're going to be able to handle it better. And I think to me that's a difficult thing to do, but it takes so much off of your own head. Like playing in tournaments is stressful. Like you're trying to beat however many guys, maybe 100 guys each week. Like, but knowing that you can maybe handle this situation better than this many guys, and maybe it's raining one day and you can handle that better than this many guys, and then maybe you put in a lot of practice and you put in more practice than this many guys, you've kind of whittled the field down to a very small amount of players that you realistically think you're playing against. And I think that mentally is just very freeing. So there's that part, but then it's also kind of like I said, like there's nothing about the golf holes that should change, I guess, how you're playing them. You're still going to hit the shots. You have a plan, you execute it. It's still a golf hole. There's nothing that should change that. And then kind of like I said before, I guess the guys you're removing from your competition, like if there's like you said, a bit of a pissiness, like it's the same for everybody. Like there's no advantage to letting everybody in your group know how bad the hole is, because they know it. But the guy that's in your group that knows it and accepts it and has kind of prepared for it, I don't know. That to me, that's the biggest advantage you can have over anybody, regardless of who you are. Preparation as far as practice is big, but preparation as far as the golf course and maybe the scenarios you might have is maybe even more important. So yeah, to kind of like go over that before the tournament and have it work out so well was huge, because it was a really big part of, I guess, my growing as far as just a player. Was like, this is a perfect evidence that there's certain preparation that makes massive differences. And I think that's the biggest difference at this level now, is like everybody prepares really well. So if you aren't doing it, you're going to be behind the eight ball, before you even hit a golf shot. So
Right. Let's talk about that really quick. Preparing for a tournament. What does that include? Because I feel like a lot of people think it's just going out and playing a practice round and shooting the lowest score you can. And that ain't it, right?
No.
So what all goes into preparing for a tournament for you?
Yeah, I think everybody's preparation is relatively the same, but I think not that mine's different. I just think I have my own approach to things, like away from the golf course. Even there's certain preparation as far as like, mentally, and, keeping your body, in shape, so that whenever you go to the golf course, there's nothing to be, I guess, distracting there. And then something that I had actually done with my now kind of coach from Team Canada, Louis, is he's kind of had me preparing as far as, what are some situations that you can be in on the golf course that, would normally throw you off guard. So say you get a plug line, a bunker, or you're in a divot in the middle of the fairway. Like if you're able to, we kind of write down, you write down that situation, and then you write down what you're going to do if that situation happens. And it's crazy how easy it is to kind of accept it when you already have kind of a route in your mind to go. So like if I know that if I hit a perfect drive down the middle of the fairway and end up in a divot, I already know that all right, well, when I wrote down, my goal is to just hit it on the green. I'm gonna take a conservative club to conservative target, put it on the green and go to the next hole. And instead of instead of walking up and losing my shit over being in a divot, I'm gonna just make my par and move on. And I think that's one part that I really want to keep kind of implementing is just that kind of preparation. Because if you're not prepared, there's going to be surprises, and if you're prepared enough, you're not going to have many surprises, and surprises are kind of what you want to avoid, I think, when you're playing tournament golf. And then as far as like course management, it's strictly knowing your game and playing. You're playing the golf course, like as much as you're playing other competitors, you're playing the golf course. So for me, it's knowing, my strengths and kind of what I want to do during the week that are going to maybe gain something here or there over certain guys. I know, like for me, like I like to hit driver everywhere. I think it's like one of my strengths. So I'm looking for every little hole where maybe some guys are laying up because they don't want to go towards this water. Well, maybe I can aim a little bit further this way. And even though it's rough or there's a bunker, I have enough room that I know I can put a driver in here every time. I'm gonna rip it. Like there's just little things where once you know your game good enough, you can take chances if they kind of make sense to yourself. So it's a little bit of time to figure out what you actually can and need to do to gain an edge, and I'm still definitely learning that, and that's something I'll need to continue learning, but it can make a big difference as far as, gaining shots and just being comfortable hitting the shots that you should. So
Yeah, for sure. You said that you write down some of these situations. Do you think that it makes a difference rather than just like thinking about it in your head and okay, yeah, I'll do this if it ends up in a divot and then the time comes, you didn't actually write it down, you just thought about it because you got told to think about it, and then it's not. Do you think that actually writing it, like physically writing it, makes a difference?
writing down things is basically the only way I get through most things in life now. Like, not that I do it all the time, because I need to do it more, but whether it's going to get groceries, like I need to write it down, because if I just, I remember that I'm going to get it. Now I'm going to forget. And being able to write it down, and I just think that it gives yourself a way better like route through your brain. When this comes up, this is right where my mind goes, and it's just so easy to just like follow that. And yeah, it takes a lot of stress off a lot of situations like that, I think.
Yeah, and if you just feel prepared because it's right there in front of you now, right? Because you already wrote it down. Before we jump into kind of the season that you just had, I want to rewind a little bit on just touching on your junior career, because you weren't the guy that was out there winning everything. And you were a little bit of a late bloomer when it came to your junior career. So can we touch on that a little bit and maybe how that has maybe helped you or hindered you into where you are now today?
Yeah, I think like we talked about earlier, like I guess going to university and stuff, like obviously you're probably going to have more success going to certain schools if you do have success in junior golf. Like it's pretty hard to get recruited or have coaches choose, players when they are late bloomers, because they can't just decide that guy's going to be good, and it is very based on scores. But yeah, like thinking back to junior golf, it was first off, like I did it at first because I loved competing, like whether it was hockey or golf, like competing was the most fun thing ever. Like there's nothing better than going out there trying to win. That's all it was. But at the start, it wasn't that. It wasn't going to try to win. It was trying to. At the start, it was probably just trying to hit good shots. Like let's have a consistent round of golf where maybe I don't have a really bad miss or hit in the water or whatever it is. And it was such little things that ended up being like the wins for me. And then once it did become winning, it was the same. There was no, winning is bigger, obviously, like finishing first is great, but it was still the same feeling. It was like it was an accomplishment, and whatever work I did to get there was great, and that was it. I think that's the one thing that I'm more proud of is winning is the best feeling, but even when I won in college, like there's nothing about winning after that's so that feeling doesn't last forever, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like there's a short period of time after where you're super excited and it's awesome, but I think the feeling of the work and the process of that paying off is what's way more satisfying, I think. So for me, that's all it was. It was going to the 19th hole and look home, little par three that isn't used, and hitting wedges, and then going to a tournament. Oh, whatever I did at practice worked, and I figured it out. It's like a little puzzle that I figured out, and it was really fun. So I think that's why now, like, I'm able to do this, and I've only done it for a year, but I think I'll be able to do it and stay sane. Is like it's the little games or the little puzzles you're trying to figure out in the golf swing, because there's always something wrong. Like that's where it's the most fun, because you get that satisfaction when you try to figure that stuff out. So in junior golf, I think that the biggest thing was like the building block there. I think that's why I was able to be successful. It's because, just figuring stuff out, whether it be, how to hit a draw, how to hit a fade, how to hit it longer, because I was hitting it super short when I was young, or whatever it was. Like figuring that stuff out was the main goal, and like the main thing to focus on, and that was my winning. And then eventually, when you do it enough, you end up trying to actually win tournaments. And then, yeah, it's just the same process over and over again.
Yeah, and it's nice to see it eventually pay off for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.